Inside a cube. Imagine a cube. For years, a cube was all you knew. The idea of life outside of that cube was impossible to see. Imagine inside that cube was you. All you were able to see were six walls, the one to the left, to the right, in front, behind, above, and below. Each wall had the same one word on it. Day after day, in big, bold, fancy letters, it said you. So day after day you stare at that word, wondering, me? Why me? 3 people stopped by each day. Fear, loneliness, and sadness. Occasionally hope stopped by, but only in passing. There was no frequency with their visits. Sometimes the visitors brought with them old memories. Others, it was a new one. Except for hope, only brought possibilities with no pathway. In this cube were you, the walls, and a lamp. At night a bed was brought in. For each meal, either sadness, loneliness, or fear would come. In the beginning the 3 were sympathetic. They only brought you food with silence. No harsh words, no meanness in which they interacted. As time went on, then the words came. The interactions. Some were harsher than others, and some so quiet it was hard to even notice they hurt. Staring at those walls, in a way it was torture because you didn't know what that word meant. So in your head it was going over and over and over. You, you, you. What about me? As the interactions and the words started getting harsher, the word you became more. It wasn't just you. It wasn't just a question. It started to become statements. Your fault. Your responsibility. You're not enough. Your actions are never enough. You aren't you. You are all of them. You are all of my pain. All of my emotions. All of my actions. They are all on you. I couldn't have told you this in the beginning because I didn't know. I didn't understand. I didn't know I was hurt, mainly because I didn't see that I was hurt. I didn't know that I felt hurt. All I knew was that I didn't like it. I knew it didn't feel good. I didn't know what hurt meant. I didn't know I had emotions because I was trying to be there for you guys, and eventually that became pain, hurt, struggling. Eventually those walls that said you were saying not enough, not strong enough, not helpful enough, not loving enough, not enough. They were almost screaming it, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to help. I felt like it was all about you guys, and it wasn't about me. I was just in the way, sometimes not even there. So those walls became my comfort. It became the only thing that I knew that would be there constantly. That I could say, I'm hurting, and it'd comfort me. It would tell me what I believed to be true, that I couldn't do anything to make it better. I couldn't do anything to change things. Like it didn't matter how much I tried to comfort you guys. It didn't matter how much I tried to love you guys. I still wasn't going to be enough. So one day I was like, you know what? Why does it matter? Why does it matter if I try to get up and do it again? Go through the day, feel all of that pain, that knowing I'll come home and it's just me because you guys mattered. One day it seemed like it wouldn't matter that I would hurt you guys, even though I knew that you guys loved me. All I could think about was how those 6 walls would never go away. Today, yesterday, and tomorrow were all the same, and it seemed like a never-ending day. Yeah, sure, I went to bed at night. Some days my days became my nights, and my nights my days. And not just that I would stay up all night. Days would go into my dreams, and my dreams would go into my days, and it would never end. When hope comes, and you think Maybe today will be the day. Maybe today things will change. Maybe today. Maybe today. But then today comes, and then it goes, and the next day comes and goes, and the next. And I'm still waiting for all of that pain of feeling like I could never be enough to change things, to do enough, to do something that would stand out, because I would try very hard. But so often I would hear you guys this, you guys that, they this, they that. But what about me? What about what I have done? What about what I did? What about all that I have put in? It hurt a lot because it was like I tried so hard for you. I put in effort, but what I did would just go to waste. So yeah, some days I very much did not want to go on. Some days I gave up. I didn't see the point. It didn't seem like there was a day when things would get better. Yes, there were times when things were better, but it always got worse than it was originally. Maybe that was perception, maybe not. But it's not me holding on to the bad things that happened. It's not me holding on to grudges or me hating you. It's that all of those little things over time became one giant mountain that would never end, that never seemed to stop. So I didn't want to go on. I didn't want to try and climb another mountain. I didn't want to try and take another step, because why would I? Would you? So that day I first attempted, I didn't fully want to let go. But where else would I have gone? How else would I get this pain to stop? This fear inside of me is where somebody should be. This hope that should be coming but hasn't been. This motivation was no longer motivation. It was dread. Dread that the sun would come up and I would have to wake and do the whole day over and over and over again. Just to stare at that wall that said you all day. I got to the point where I would just stop keeping that lamp on. I would turn out the lamp so that I didn't have to stare at that word, but that word was ingrained into my head. When that word on the wall became my comfort, it became my home. I knew where it was. I knew its lengths and dimensions. I knew all of it. I knew all that it represented. So when fear, sadness, and loneliness came each day, I would go to those walls, huddle up, and say, "Comfort me because I'm all alone." Days became weeks, weeks became months, months became years. And when a day feels so long staring at one word that can mean 1,000,000 things, but you knew it only meant one, there was no point. There was no place to go. There was no hope. There was nothing. A building fell down one day. Its constant massive weight weakened its stability. When that building fell, it had a little less faith than in the beginning. When it was repaired, it relied on the pillars and walls less. With the weight not changing, not lessening, it crumbled once more. This time the building started to question whether or not those supports were reliable. Each and every time the pillars failed, the building took less off the pillars and walls and more on its own, until eventually it came to believe that the supports were incapable of holding the building and its weight. Eventually it wouldn't let the people rebuild it because the strength it took to hold that weight was so great it knew no way to carry it. It's not the load that breaks you down. It's the way you carry it. So it stopped trying. But at some point, the walls we build need to come down or they will crush us. And when they do, the people who still want to be there for you, that's real family. When you wake up after falling apart, time after time after time, then have come to believe you're all alone in a big, scary world, at least what you know of, and someone comes along saying, that weight you carry, that doesn't have to be there. That weight you've lived with, was vulnerable with, can change. You believe them because they offer a hand that you've been desperate for. You take one look at that weight, give it the finger, then walk off. After about 3 miles, you start looking behind you. Where did it go? Wait, I don't see it. Oh yeah. So you keep walking. 2 miles later, you shiver. I'm alone. Even though hundreds of people pass you and you them, there's no one there. Even though everyone you know, everyone that cares about you, will talk with you, laugh with you, no one's there. Even though the joy you feel brings warmth, you're still so cold. You've traveled only 5 miles, and yet the 10 left is 1,000. 1 is 50, and a single step is 3 hills in 5 minutes. The future isn't hard. It's the hard right now, with the beliefs and internalizing of one event after another. Even though you know you can survive without that weight, even though you've experienced it, that weight has made the world you know. It has shaped the only path you've learned to exist. The weight you believe you so desperately need is a parent to an incapable baby. The hope you felt that was given is only a fading dream. Mile after mile, day after day, the battle to keep that hope rages on and on with no known destination. All I want is to be free. Even when an entire room of people gives you 5 reasons each to keep going, you don't believe any. Despite experiencing that hope and knowing that the future is out there, despite knowing that the future is obtainable, knowing you have the ability to do so, one thing remains: battle scars. The wounds of the heart, the scars of the mind, and the marks on the body of desperate times know better than to trust. Such as the times I had hoped to go on a fun trip, but things didn't work out, just life, no one's fault. Or the times I had hoped for a promise that never came. Or the times I had hoped for progress, but only regret remained. Or the times I had thought my life could end, but was never going to be allowed that relief. Or that time my whole heart, mind, and soul gave all its will and power, so hope could take it far away to a place where pain was nothing in comparison. But disappointment, trauma, depression, and emptiness all conspire to create a version of all themselves combined to produce a product so evil, evil itself is ashamed. So when an entire room of people gives you 5 reasons each, not a single part of your living, breathing body dares to hope. For hope is the weapon life has used to enslave your child. Where is a world in which hope is more than a passing stranger? Where is a world where hope has more to offer than sunshine and rainbow dreams? Where does a world exist where one doesn't have to battle alone? Where the trust I give doesn't backfire? Where one's life doesn't live in an ever-changing, rapid, accelerating tornado? Where that tornado isn't held back by a thin string ready to burst? How does one see that there is such a world when the only one known is one of conformity, forced submission, and normality? So when the voice in my head says there is no point, what is the opposing evidence?